Alright, so you saw the title of this video, you clicked on this video because you were intrigued, right? I mean, this is an intriguing topic. Apex has been out for almost 2 years now, which is crazy in itself, and as someone who has been playing Apex since day one of Apex being out, I truly do enjoy this game, but I also like to make these kind of videos where I'm critical of this game because that's the only real way for Apex to grow and evolve, right? So with that being said, there are gonna be some people who watch this video and immediately click the dislike button because anything to do with, like, you know, being honest or being critical of Apex, some people seem to get offended, right? Before they've even watched the video for like 2 seconds, guys, they're leaving a hate comment right now and they dislike the video already because it's not, you know, the most, I would say, uplifting video. Now please don't be that person, guys. I really want to come today and try to, you know, offer up some real constructive criticism about this game. It's gonna be a somewhat long video in terms of like what I want to talk about, so stay tuned, guys. Let's have a conversation as well in the comment section down below, a constructive conversation. And I want to rephrase this real quick because some people might miss this, right? This video is not intended to be negative or hateful. It's intended to just be constructive, to pick apart the good things about Apex, the bad things about Apex, the recent things about Apex, and just see where this game could overall improve and, you know, just grow even more. I've always said this, but Apex in my opinion has the most potential right now out of any battle royale game by far. It's the most fun game to me in terms of, like, you know, pure gunplay, but there are some things around the game that just seem to be kind of like, you know, holding it back and not allowing it to reach its full potential. So with that intro done, for you guys who are still here and are willing to like talk about Apex in depth, let's talk about it. I don't mean to self-promote too much, but I do have these talks often over on Twitch, so guys, click the very first link down below and come say hi on Twitch. I might be live right now as we speak over on Twitch, right? So come click the link, let's talk even more over on Twitch after you watch this video, and yeah, it's always a good time. Hit that sub button if you're new as well, and leave a like if you enjoyed the video, leave a dislike if you didn't. But let's talk about, you know, where Apex can improve, and let's just be constructive and critical in a good way about Apex Legends. Alright, so I'm gonna break this video down into 3 separate talking points, right? Or should I say 3 separate parts, right? First up, let's talk about the current state of Apex. You know, the recent updates, the recent patches, the recent, you know, talk of the town about this game. Let's talk about the current state of this game first. Then let's talk about, you know, my fears and my worries about this game, like, you know, what needs to change. And that will be the most interesting part of this video because everyone has different fears and worries about this game. There are some, you know, very common and universally, you know, understood worries about Apex, but for the most part, right, guys, we all have like different things we want to see changed in this game. And last but not least, I'll talk about my hopes for Apex and like what I want to see this game potentially, you know, turn into. So with that said, let's talk about the current state of this game. To start things off, I would say that season 7 has been one of my most enjoyable seasons so far. You know, season 7 to me was done, for the most part, it was done really good. You know, Horizon was a very fun legend. She was actually useful, and that was one of our biggest issues with Apex for such a long time. You know, Horizon just kind of fixed that issue because most new legends in this game never really entered the game in a really good state. For example, Crypto wasn't that good when he first came, Revenant definitely wasn't that good when he first came, and Loba, although she still isn't very good, she was much worse when she first dropped in season 5. Obviously we can say the same thing about Rampart, right? So that was my first thumbs up to Respawn. We had a very useful and effective legend, we had a new map, and it just seemed like things were going uphill from the time season 7 dropped, and they kind of did. Season 7 on a whole was just a much different season, guys, and I think everyone at that time, they wanted something different in Apex because every season was beginning to feel kind of the same, especially season 6. So season 7 was a very good change, and it made us kind of like, you know, breathe a breath of fresh air. That makes sense? I don't know, you guys know what I'm trying to say, right? It was just a very, you know, enjoyable, fresh season, and it was definitely an improvement from season 6. Now in terms of recent content, right, obviously we had the Winter Express, the Christmas event, which was also kind of interesting. The Winter Express game mode was for the most part kind of like a recycled game mode. There were some changes, right, but it still was pretty much the same thing we played back, was it season 3? Yeah, season 3. Now to me that was fun, it was fresh, it was kind of like, you know, a different game mode to play as opposed to just playing being ranked on pubs every single time, so it was new and it was fresh. And most recently we just got the Fight Night Collection event, which to me so far has been going pretty good, right? No, there are some bugs and stuff still in this event, and I'll talk about that in my fears and worries section of this video. But for the most part, guys, the Fight Night Collection event so far has been fun. We have a new Gibby heirloom, which actually isn't that bad, and it's just content. Like, we haven't really been in a content drought for the entirety of season 7, which is great, because in season 6 there was such a big content drought that in season 7 that's not really the case anymore, because season 8 is like, what, 3 weeks away. So we have new content coming very soon, and we have been enjoying some very good content as well. So the current state of Apex, if I'm being honest, to me at least, it isn't that bad. Like, if you guys played Apex in season 6, that to me was a very bad state, because there were just so many issues during that time, so many things needed to be rebalanced as well. So if we're using season 6 as kind of like a comparison, I would say that season 7 right now currently is in a pretty good state, right? Now let's talk about my fears and my worries for Apex, which is very interesting because I do have a lot, but I'll try to like summarize it for you guys, right, into like, I would say 3 specific points. So first up, let's talk about dev transparency. Now, recently there was some kind of talk and controversy about Caustic's buff. Caustic was supposed to get a buff recently in the Fight Night Collection event update, but as soon as Daniel Klein, the lead game designer at Respawn, talked about this over on Twitter, there was a huge backlash basically saying that Caustic doesn't need to get buffed. Now this right here is my biggest fear, because the devs really control this game, right? They make the game, they make the changes, and they are the ones basically in control right now, and this is the lead game designer as well. I'm not gonna go too in depth about this topic right here, but basically what took place is that the community gave huge backlash, and Daniel Klein basically fought back and tried to like justify his reasoning for buffing Caustic, or for wanting to buff Caustic, and he also somewhat placed blame on TSM Imperial Hal, who is one of the biggest, or if should I say he is the biggest pro player right now in Apex. He kind of placed blame on Hal for that backlash because he responded to that tweet. And the interesting part about this whole thing is that 2 days later, guys, the lead game designer came out and said that the Caustic buff was a mistake because they were using old data to justify the buff, and the most recent data shows that Caustic in fact does not need a buff. Now to me this is very, very worrying for many reasons. Firstly, guys, it's very, very dangerous to make those tweets as a lead game designer and you're using old data. That's very, very worrying to me. What's also worrying to me is that the dev didn't really apologize to Hal, which is also kind of weird, and he also didn't take any accountability for what took place, which ironically enough is exactly what he told Hal to do. Now I'm not bashing anyone, guys. Devs have a very difficult job to do. Being a dev is not easy, especially in a community like Apex. I understand that perfectly fine, but at the same time, right, this whole situation was just very troubling to me, because I feel as if the lead game designer at Respawn is supposed to know what place Caustic is in the meta, and it's also scary because he called Caustic one of the weakest legends in this game as well, which I don't understand how that's possible. And I'm also wondering what would have happened if the Apex community did not give such a big backlash. Would we have a Caustic buff right now that just basically didn't even need to happen? So dev transparency, especially in a game like Apex, is important, and I feel like if we weren't given transparency in this situation, and this situation right here is a reflection of so many different scenarios in this game where we just don't really know what's going on because there's not enough dev transparency. Now this goes both ways, right? I understand why some devs would kind of refrain from talking to certain people in the community, because sometimes the Apex community can be very aggressive, very insulting, and just very, I would say, not very professional, which is kind of bad. I see it on my videos, I see it on other people's videos, I see it on Reddit, I see it basically everywhere, guys. And if we want to maintain a healthy relationship between us and the devs, we need to also be respectful to the devs as well. So with that said, I would love to see some more dev transparency in a game, especially a game like Apex. And this leads me into my second point, which is infrequent updates. I feel like Apex lacks frequent updates. There's been a glitch right now where PC players randomly get kicked out of lobbies, and obviously affects their games in ranked and stuff. And it's been about 6 days since this, this glitch was recognized. There still hasn't been a patch, there still hasn't been an update to fix this, and to me this should be a very urgent issue at Respawn. Now once again, I understand that there's only so much Respawn could do, especially with like their team size, and this might be completely out of Respawn's control, but I just feel like, there needs to be some kind of special attention to issues like this. Now, Respawn definitely isn't always slow with updates, right? Back in Season 6, when we had the shield change, when like every shield basically had less health, Respawn was very quick to fix it, and a patch came in like 1 or 2 days, which is, insane. So I think this might just be out of Respawn's control. But just speaking from like a player's point of view, I feel like we need to see more frequent updates to rectify issues like this in Apex. Now my last fear and my last worry is actually a big one, and if you guys are still watching this video up to this point, comment garlic bread. I don't know why, just to confuse everyone in the comment section down below, comment garlic bread. I know if you're still watching the video. But I seen Kandiru make a video about this. I also saw some different content creators talk about this as well. But basically, since Season 7 began, guys, I would say the searches on YouTube and just the interaction for this game, the interest in this game, I should say, has been at an all-time low. I'm going to show you guys the Google Trends image right now, but as you can see, right, Apex has kind of been steadily going down. Like, it's very slow, but in Season 7, we saw an all-time drop. There was a spike with the recent Fight Night Collection event, but the interest for this game, for some reason, in Season 7 has not been, where it usually is. To me, the reason for this is a combination of everything I just mentioned before, guys. I feel like with Season 6 especially, many players left. I feel like if, Apex had more transparency, if we had more community feedback, if we had just more, a better understanding of, what the plan for this game is, like a roadmap or something like that, players would just be a bit more optimistic about Apex, right? But I feel like some players around this time just kind of gave up hope, left Apex, stopped watching Apex videos as well, and just kind of, moved on, which is kind of sad because Apex has so much potential still left. So that's one of my biggest fears and worries right now. Like, will Apex be able to recover and, get back up to where it used to be? Obviously, I'm someone who makes Apex videos, right? So this is a very big concern for me, and I've seen so many other content creators as well talking about this issue. So this is out of our hands. This is all to do with like, what Respawn is working on next for Apex, and can they, bring the attention back to this game? Because honestly, Apex deserves it. Apex is such a fun game. We just need to see, as I said, more transparency, more updates, and more feedback. Like, I think feedback and transparency right now are the two major things we need to see in a game like Apex. I obviously want to see, Apex reach to a new peak. I want to see this game climb back up in support and interest. And honestly, there is some hope left, because Respawn has already talked about Season 8 and Season 9 especially being some extremely fun seasons. Making these seasons during quarantine, Respawn has had to adapt and find different ways to like, bring new content. But I feel like with Season 8 and especially Season 9, I feel like we'll see a lot more content, more innovative stuff, and just some very exciting stuff based on what Respawn actually said. I really hope we get to see some more dev interaction as well. That's always good to see. Some more constructive feedback as well by the community, because if the community itself is being toxic and being just disrespectful, there's no real reason for the devs to respond. I mean, it is kind of like important for devs to respond anyway, but I understand the reluctance in doing so if everyone is so negative all the time. So my final hope for this game is that it just continues to grow. Like, I really want to see Apex grow. I want to see some new changes come. I want to see more interaction. I want to see this game become what it really can be. It has so much potential. It has so much unlocked potential. So I'm basically giving you guys the mic right now. What do you think about the current state of Apex? Do you think Apex is in trouble? Do you think Apex is dying? Do you think Apex still has hope, right? What do you think about this game? Leave your comments down below right now. It could be short, it could be long. I read every single comment, as I always say. And that's basically it for me today, guys. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys in some more Apex. Till next time.